This is something you should not miss. The Joe Rogan Experience is known for its unpredictable nature, where guests go awry, conversations go awry, and the ridiculous becomes the standard. 1 minute it's philosophy, the next it's live on air. Debates or full-fledged conspiracy theories. Joe Rogan, however, manages to flourish in the chaos. Joe interrupts just as things are ready to go awry with his razor-sharp wit and impeccable timing. He calls out contradictions, cuts through the chaos with brutal honesty, and brings the program back to earth like only he can. It isn't merely a podcast. The turmoil is under control. The center of the storm is Joe Rogan's calm genius takes, front stage in some of those crazy, memorable moments that we're going to explore today. You'll want to watch this through to the end, we promise. If you enjoy this type of information, don't forget to hit the notification bell and subscribe. There is a lot more content out there.
The idea that we argue about the Second Amendment, like, let's let constitutional lawyers, I think, discuss a lot of those things, and we should all understand that and be curious about it. But our Constitution is also silly. Like, let's remake everything. Like, let's have that conversation. There's so much better that we can do. Have a serious conversation about what kind of guns and bullets people can have. Not that they can have them or that they can't have. Like, that's the conversation. That's where we should be right now. Everything gets regulated.
But the gun thing, the most part about the messiness of the gun thing is that even if you made guns illegal, even if you said you can't have any bullets, you'll all go to jail. There's so many guns, you're not getting them all.
That's Pete Dominic, the political comedian for you. Never afraid to push the boundaries, even if it means destroying everything. You have the right to oppose the Second Amendment. You see, all day, we can argue about that. The first thing that should be said, however, is, let's just remake the entire Constitution because of one issue. It's not brave, that is careless. It hasn't gone that far, even for the extreme left's most radical voices. To be honest, I hope it remains that way. The Constitution isn't some old leaflet you throw away when it doesn't align with your values. It is the structure that has governed this country for more than 200 years and the cornerstone of our democracy. Just because you don't like the wallpaper doesn't mean you burn down the home.
How do you do it?
Yeah, that's the question.
That's the most important point. There's already 330. There's more guns than there are people, so what do? So, by the way, I think you buy as many as you can back for sure. You spend a whole bunch of taxpayer money. Just help. By the way, there's a ton of people in a bind right now that have a rifle, but like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to afford my insulin. Let me get rid of this AK-47 to live another month. You buy some guns back. It's a good expenditure of money, and then melt them down and turn them into furniture for people.
So if you wanted to do that without changing the Second Amendment, like you just have a buyback where you just offer people the opportunity to make some money by giving their guns up.
Well, the Second Amendment has been interpreted wrong by the Supreme Court, in my opinion.
Don't overthink it if you're looking for a kitchen table or a stand. Simply visit IKEA. It would be much better if you went to Home Depot, got some wood and some tools, and made something yourself. Make it a weekend undertaking. Well, let's discuss Pete. He wasn't prepared to have a meaningful talk when he entered that podcast. It was evident from the first word. He arrived brimming with provocative takes. Joe could say whatever he wanted, but Pete was there to say no. Nothing real, just constant pranks. Additionally, Joe was obviously losing patience quickly, so it was obvious that it was wearing on him.
Main issue is definitely the guns and the bullets in them.
Well, the main issue is the person that's capable of shooting people with the guns and the bullets.
No, it's the guns and the bullets.
The guns and the bullet are inanimate objects. Without a person pulling the trigger, we're talking nonsense here. They're not going to shoot themselves.
It's a healthcare issue, it's so extreme. It's really, if you want to know the answer to healthcare issues, you should talk to public health experts. They have those answers. They have the research, but
hold on. What research? On what?
They don't have enough research on. They don't have enough research on gun violence.
What are you
unfortunately.
talking about then?
I'm talking about if you want to know the solutions for what is impacting and creating death by any measure, accidental death.
Right, but we're talking about gun violence, right?
Right.
What healthcare professionals have the solutions to gun violence?
Suddenly, Pete started rambling in circles and stumbling over his own contradictions as if it were performance art. Nor was Joe's audience amenable to it. The comments were where they let free. One listener said it so well. While using the podcast app, I opened YouTube simply to view this video to express my disapproval. Vicious, another person added their voice. This guy is someone I really wanted to like. He simply kept going farther and farther. But when Kurt Messer interrupted the broadcast with a tirade so off subject that it seemed as though he had entered from another world, the turmoil that followed was much worse than Pete's disaster. With no introduction or background, he simply plunged into his own universe as everyone else sat there in shock.
Joke thief get there. I'm like, listen, I was there, and also I know comedy, and I know better than you jerk off at home. So if I tell you, just think I know better. I'll just put it that way. Maybe that's arrogant, but I just been doing it for 20 years, and you never had the balls to get on stage. So I think I just know better. They're outraged.
You're fighting with someone who's not even here. No one even knows what you're fighting over right there. You just started some joke thief fight. No one has any idea what the you're saying.
All right, guys, is when I defended Amy.
Right.
Amy, and I had people like lecture, and I'm like, don't presume to tell me shit. The same reason I became a comic. I could do that. So but at least I did it. You know, if you get on stage and do it, I'll give it to you. But these people think they can do your job.
But hold on a second. In their defense, they're looking at a film that shows time after time bits that
Gavin made to specifically her because she said I play a racist Republican.
What?
The little YouTube video where they took movies in the show, which by the way, she doesn't write the show. It was ridiculous.
Here is some brief background. Reddit users were the first to notice the connection between the accusations that Amy Schumer was stealing jokes, which began to surface in 2015. By 2016, it was more than simply online chit-chat. A number of comedians were hinting in non-subtle ways that their work had been plagiarized. Then came the side-by-side comparisons and YouTube breakdowns, which didn't look good for Amy. Yeah, some of the bits might have accidentally overlapped with others, but once her team noticed, they'd pull the material, she said, referring to what she called parallel thinking at the time. Alright, if that's what actually occurred, Kurt Messer now enters the picture. He wrote for the Comedy Central show Inside Amy Schumer, which aired for 5 seasons. Therefore, he was going to protect her as if his career relied on it. Which, in a sense, it did.
Wait a minute. There were bits that were exactly the same as bits that were on
mediocre bits that anyone would have thought of?
Dude, relax. You're arguing against someone who's not even here.
Well, right? I was trying to bring up why they were going at me. That's why.
But the problem with what you're saying is they have evidence. They're looking at one bit, and it's exactly the same as another bit.
If I look at the evidence and I come to a different conclusion, let's go with my conclusion because I was there.
What about due
process?
And the guys who were saying it,
there's a due process guy.
That's not enough. That's not enough to convince someone. Oh, dude, just trust me.
Do you think
isn't that like some authoritative sheriff type shit? Just trust me.
Hey, I'm not going to them. To the sheriff. I'm not going to them. They're coming to me.
Indeed, what Kurt was even attempting to do is beyond me. There are serious charges of material theft against the main character of the show you write for. And your main defense is essentially, believe me, buddy, I am aware of the subject at hand. It isn't a defense. That's a microphone and wishful thinking, and here's the problem. Your point is not strengthened by shouting louder. Actually, the opposite occurs. It shouts insecurities. It is a traditional maneuver. When your argument lacks substance, you raise your voice in the hopes that intimidation would help you win. However, Joe doesn't like that. He maintained his composure while outlining the reasoning and explaining to Kurt why his position was flawed.
Need the evidence, right? You have to be real clear and non-confrontational when you're handling something like that.
But, dude, I won't. First of all, number one, the larger issue is I never should be on social media talking to any of the at all, explaining it. I don't owe any of you, anybody listening, if you have a question or a judgment, I don't owe you an explanation for it.
I understand.
I don't know where the you got the idea that I do. So I was wrong that I even had an answer at all, because you have people, hey, joke thief. Really, that's the word about me, that I'm a joke thief. From some know-nothing, and they just want to see I'll talk back to them. Most of these animals can't believe you're speaking to them.
They think that you did steal it, and you've got to explain how this was parallel thinking. There's going to be a bunch of people.
Many times I did.
I know, but a lot of people haven't heard it, and you're blurting it out like that. Someone's arguing you in the room.
In all honesty, It seemed as though Kurt was Amy's last hope, possibly her sole real admirer, and her co-hosting of the 94th Academy Awards in 2020 brought her the same plagiarism accusations once more. Months before, in December, the joke she used had already become widely popular as a tweet. Indeed, it is possible that she was able to parallel think her way out of relevancy. Hey, I want to talk to you. How do you feel? Let's discuss it after you leave your ideas in the comments section. And feel free to share the video with anyone you know who may enjoy these crazy situations. I'll see you in the next one, and thanks for watching.